Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we will be discussing another problem from an SD sheet based on DP. Let me show you the problem statement. So this is the question that we are going to discuss today. Maximize the cut segments. So this is a very simple problem. If you have followed the past lectures, this is going to be very easy for you. So you are given a rod of certain length, which is n here. Let me take this example. Okay, what is given to you? For example, n is 4, right? There is a rod, okay, of length 4. You have to make cuts in this rod in such a way that you get pieces of length x, y and z only, right? No matter how many pieces you get, but you have to get them of length 2 1 1, right, which is given as x, y and z, right? So you have to return in how many maximum cuts you can perform so that you get different pieces of these length. Okay, so x is 2, y is 1 and z is 1. So this is of length 4. So what options do you have? Have a look here. If I make just one cut, okay, and let's say from here I make a cut at length 1, so what is the remaining length? It's 3. Now my question comes down to how many cuts can I make in this segment to get lengths, rod of lengths these, okay, any of these lengths, and this is actually how we will proceed towards it. Now for example, again if I make a cut at length 1 from here, I am left with a rod of length 2, right? Repeat the same thing. Let's say if I make a rod cut at length 1 again, so I am left with rod of length just 1. So basically I made 3 cuts here, and how many segments did I get? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Total 4 segments is what I got when I made 3 cuts, right? So this is just one possibility. You see that we are getting rods of length 1 each in this case. If you see that obviously there is one, the answer is 4, that means there is one other possibility, not one, there will be other possibilities, and out of them there will be the maximum one that we have to figure out. So this was just one case. So what are you going to do in this case? Okay, let's see. And what you have to return here is, let me just see, if you have to return total number of cut segments must be maximum. So basically we are returning the maximum segments here and not the cuts. That is why your answer is 4. We can make maximum 4 segments each of length 1. Basically the one that we just wrote here, this possibility is actually going to be your answer, but we are going to explore what all possibilities we have and how we will come up with the answer in that case. Okay, so now understand it from recursion point of view. Let's see. So right now I have a rod of length 4, right? How many possibilities do I have? If you see, we can only choose to have lengths of the segment that has been cut. They can be either of length 2 or 1 or 1. So in my rod, suppose this is of length 4, if I make a cut at length 1 from, let's say this is your x equal to 0 origin, okay, and I make a cut at length 1 from that position, that is also one possibility. I can also do one thing, that I directly make first cut at length 2 from the start, okay, that is also one possibility. Can I make a cut directly at a length of 3 from start? No, because in that way I will get, in that cut I will get a segment of length 3 which is not allowed according to our XYZ, right? So that possibility cannot be made. So if I have a rod, I'll have 3 possibilities for the segments to make cut on. This is same as you remember of selecting and not selecting any option while we were doing DP problems from our previous lectures. You can recall that. Okay, so first possibility is, if I make a length cut at length 2, let's say 1, let's start from Z. Suppose if I choose to make a cut at length 1, suppose if I make a cut again at 1, obviously, suppose if I make a cut again at length 2, now the length that I will be left with, if I make a cut at 1th unit, then I will be left with a rod of length 3, in this case also 3, and in this case 2. Now assume this is a new problem for a rod of length 3 units, okay. Now we will repeat the same procedure for this. For 3, again I have 3 options. One is, if I make a cut at length 1, another one also at 1, because that is also one possibility. Another one is if I make a cut at length 2. So if I make a cut at length 1, I'll get a rod left with length 2, same for this, and here rod will be of length 1. Let's just explore this branch of your tree. Now for 2, again I have 3 options, right? 1, 1 and 2. If I make a cut at length 1, again assume this is a new problem of length 2 units. If I make a length at 1, so I'll be left with a rod of length 1, here also 1, and here the rod's length will be 0. So the moment I get the rod's length 0, that means I have cut my rod into the maximum segments I could have, and I have found some pieces. Now the moment I get 0, that will work for you as a base case. That means you know you have made all the cuts and your rod, no more cuts are possible now. So you can, from here you can see that how many segments you got. So this was, if I backtrack now, this was one segment on which you made a cut, that is how you got a length 0, right? So segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. So basically you got 3 segments from this path. But is this the maximum yet? That we will explore as we move ahead in this, as we explore all the other branches. So basically this 4 length, I made a cut at length 1. See what it is representing. One cut was made at length 1 unit. Then I got a rod of length 3. Then in there, which is giving me 0. Then in there I made a cut at length 1 again. So this is again 1 units. Okay. Now here I directly made a cut at 2 units. That is, I am present at the end of this remaining rod. So in that way I actually got 3 segments. But is it my maximum answer? That we will get only once we explore all the possible branches for this tree. Now if you observe that, again now that's where we go towards a DP approach, by realizing that we are going to solve same problem a lot of times. Here your rod was cut into length 2, your remaining length was 2, and you explore 3 options, then you are getting answers. Here also you are going to overlap. This is another overlapping sub problem. Same thing you are going to calculate here also, here also. So you can see how in how many places already we have gotten our 2 units length of rod, for which we are going to calculate the same thing again and again. Okay. So this will not work. Okay, let me complete this branch. Here how many possibilities you have? Again I'll try with all the possibilities, and then we will see which of them we cannot make the cut. Okay, so if I have 1 length rod, I make a cut at length 1 unit, I get remaining rod as 0. Same for this. Here see, if you have a rod of length 1, there is no such possibility to make a cut at length 2, because your rod itself is not big enough for you to make any cut in that further. So if the cut that you are trying to perform, the length that you are trying to perform, if it exceeds the length of your rod, okay, that is also one of the base cases that you have to handle, that you are not going to get any answer from there, right? So the moment I hit 0, I know I have gotten one answer. I just have to evaluate if that is a maximum answer. So if I see how many maximum segments do I get from this path, so this is one segment. Rod was 4, I'll take a DP array of length 5, 0. Rod was 4, I'll take a DP array of length 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, why? Because I want to know that whatever will be the answer at index 5, sorry, length of rod is 4, right? Already. Okay, so the index 4 will tell me that in how many maximum segments I have cut by performing all the operations. So initially, let's say that my DP is initialized with minimum value, because I want to store the maximum answer in my index at that particular index. So initially, if your rod, this represents the length of your rod. If your rod's length is 0, can you cut it in any segment? No. So maximum segments that you will get from a rod of length 0 is going to be 0. If your rod is of length 1, so what are the possibilities if your x is 1, y is 1 and z is 2? First of all, you will make sure if your rod's length, right, is greater than the cut that you are performing, only then you will perform that cut. So here the only possibility is that I can cut my rod into length 1. So if I make this cut by performing this cut on length 1, my remaining rod will be of length 1 minus x, that is 0. So I'll ask my DP 0, what was your answer, right? I'll add 1 to it and check if this is greater than the value already present at my place. So initially assume that it's my minimum value. So obviously 0 plus 1 is going to be greater, so I have stored 1 here. Come on 2. Now if my rod is of length 2, I can perform two operations. One, I can cut it on segment at length 1. Another one is I can cut it on length 2. And since I had 3 possibilities, I'll try 3. If one of them is already evaluated, I'll directly use my answer. And for rest, I'll calculate only if the length of my rod is greater than or equal to the cut that I'm trying to perform. If I make a cut at length 1, right, I'll be left with rod of length 2 minus x. So I'll ask dp of 1 what is your answer. Dp of 1 is saying 1. So I'll add 1 to it because I am making a cut for myself. I will add 1 for it, and I will ask dp that for one length what was already your maximum segment, right? So it says for me the maximum segments that you can form from all the possibilities is 1, and if I add my 1 to it, I'll get 2. Is it the maximum? Okay, let's see. Other option is that I cut it by y units. So y, for example, was 1 again, so I'll no change in my answer. Another possibility is that I cut it by z units, that is 2. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Ask your dp 0 what was your answer. So you add 1 for yourself, it becomes 1. Is 1 greater than the current value? No. So it will stay as 2. Ask for 3, same procedure. 3 minus 1. So you will ask dp of 2 what is your answer and add 1 to it. So you get 3. So 3 minus 2 for next segment, so next possibility, if you cut it at 2 units. So you will ask dp of 1, that is 3 minus 2, what is your answer? You add 1 to it. So if you add 1 to it, you will get 2. 2 will not exceed the current value, so answer will remain 3 for this segment. Now when your rod is of length 4, so you make a cut at, let's say, for 1 unit, so you will ask dp of 3, what is your answer? Add 1 to it, that will become 4. If I make a cut at 2 units, I'll ask my dp of 2, what is your answer, and I'll add 1 to it, so that is 3. But 3 will not exceed my current answers. Finally, return dp of nth index. That's all, right? So that's what we have done also. You can have a look here. That's pretty much about it. Okay, so let's just check if you guys have any doubts. If you have no doubts, I'll wrap it up. Okay, so that's all about this question, guys. So Jaya, to your question, the answer is that we are going according to this SD sheet. Let me show you the SD sheet. So we have already covered, you can say 75%, more than that, or I should say 80% of this sheet. Let me show you. So this is the sheet that we have been covering. I have already taken problems from arrays, hashing, and all the questions still here. Let me show you till where. So right now we are on this rod cutting problem, and we have solved all the above problems. So as you see that we are left with heap, graph, try, that's all. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. If you have any more doubts, let me know. Otherwise, we will wrap it up. Okay. So that's all for today, everyone, and see you all in the next lecture. Bye bye and take care.